We had quite the rain out here last night. It's gonna be raining all day. It's cold out here as well, but it's not cold enough to snow, unfortunately. One good thing about having hard rains, you can figure out where your roof's leaking. Looks like we got two small leaks side by side here in the storage barn. I'm gonna have to add that to the bucket list of things to finish up once it stops raining. We're gonna keep this door shut. First up, let's fire on the lights. That's much better. In yesterday's load, I found this neat little gadget. It's an inspection camera. So I took it up to the house last night, hooked it up, made sure it worked. I downloaded the app for it. It's got quite the cable on it. It's not the highest quality camera, but it'll get the job done. You never know when you'll need it. So I'm gonna find a new home for it in here. We're gonna take a look at this GE dryer. Typically with these, the plastic front end goes bad, but that doesn't seem to be the issue here. There's a cable here, perfect. One less cable I have to use. It's got the connection screws that go for the dryer, and that makes sense because back here, it looks like somebody cut these wires, and the plastic here where you connect the cable is corroded away. I went ahead and set it on the front end, put a piece of styrofoam down so we don't scratch it up. You can see somebody has tore this thing apart. You got all these loose wires here. I think this is the positive and so is this. Here's the original cord. The plastic is pretty much broken away. We're gonna see if we have another one of those. I also took this cover off, straightened out the metal ends. Somebody bent it open. Seems like somebody got angry and ripped it out the wall. The plug end is all bent and broken up. Same with the connection end. It's missing a few parts. This ground wire should have a piece of metal that's crimped on here, and it's not there. It's actually still attached to the dryer. That is not an easy thing to do because these wires are crimped on together pretty good, like so. The rest of these just pretty much ripped right out. I took one of the connection screws off. We can reuse them. The metal piece that the cable runs through is all bent up. We'll have to rebend it and put it back in place. First, we'll have to replace this plastic, which thankfully I do have another one with the original wires still on it. So what we'll do is splice this end and splice all of these ends and connect them together. I was able to salvage something. All three of the connection screws are in good shape. I also went ahead and stripped out the endings of all the wires to the new connection. Next up, we're gonna have to strip and cut off the endings to the original wires. Two of the endings are already ripped off, makes it a little bit easier. Once I do this, before I even try to test the machine, I'm gonna open it up and make sure nothing inside's ripped to pieces either. There we go. Also spliced all four of the original wires. Before we start doing anything else, what I'm gonna do is grab some pliers and we're gonna bend this piece of metal back and reinstall it. Like so. There we go. Should be something like that. See how it fits. These four wires need to go through the hole. And once we attach it to the new one, we'll have trouble doing that. There we go. Perfect. Let's find a new screw for this thing. I got the metal reinstalled, found a new screw for it. I did put a zip tie on all four of the original wires because two of them kept falling down in the hole and I had to fish them out of there a couple times. So we will take the zip tie off at the end. The new connection is installed. I was able to reuse the two Phillips head screws there to hold it in place. Last thing to do is wire nut and electrical tape all four of the wires together, and then we'll be good to install a cord and start opening up the front end. I got all four of the wires safely connected. I was able to feed them all back down through the hole. That way we leave plenty of space for the cord to be hooked up. I also went through and made sure all three of these were on there nice and snug. Last thing to do is install a new cord. We're gonna use a 3-prong this time. You can always swap them out. This is the old plastic. Here's the new plastic with the wires. That's garbage. Once we get the cord installed, we're gonna put the cap back on and flip it upright. We are good to go here. This cap fits on one way like so. Line it up with the hole, put the screw back. I got the top end removed. We're gonna make sure this plastic front end is in good shape. It seems to be, but you don't know until you take a better look. We're also gonna make sure all the wires inside are okay And while we're in there, grease everything up and clean it out. Look who showed up, Mr. Oakley. What's up, bud? You're soaking wet, man. My love, good to see you. The rain has stopped. Sunshine is peeking out. That's a good thing. After taking a better look at everything, we might have got lucky. Here go the wires that I repaired. I traced back the wires to the motor. They're still nice and snug. Thankfully, they didn't get ripped out of there. Same with the wires that run up to the timer. They're still intact. Also, the heating element's in really good shape. Hardly any signs of usage on it. We're still going to go through, check all the sensors. We're going to clean out the exhaust, even though it's not too dirty. The number one thing was this front end. As you can see, it's in good shape. It's not cracking anywhere, and all four of the slides are still on and in good shape. Some of my old videos of these GEs, you can see after time, these plastics will start breaking to pieces, and then you got to replace them. Thankfully, that's not the problem here. Blew everything out with the compressor, got it nice and clean. Went through, checked the sensors, they're good to go. Element's good to go. Motor's in good shape. So the last thing to do is grease up a couple points. Definitely the belt tensioner. And then here, where the drum sits and rides, we're gonna put some grease in there so we don't have any squeaking issues. And this shaft on the drum needs to be cleaned up and re-greased. Same with this plastic piece that goes over the top. And then for the front end, we're just gonna wipe it down, make sure it's nice and smooth. Drum and belt are reinstalled. We got everything greased up. Just as I was getting ready to test it, I found another issue. The knob to the start switch is no good. You can see those internal plastics there are broken. There is this metal retainer that slides in there, but it can't do much if the knob's broke. So let's see if we can find another one. I was able to hunt down a new knob pretty quick. You can see the difference. I went ahead and slid that metal retainer in there. It's got a flat spot on it because it only fits on the switch one way. There we go. Yep, now it works. It wasn't doing that previously. Moment of truth. We're going to make sure everything works. I'm going to leave the top end off for now. That way I can condition the belt and make sure everything's spinning like it should. We're going to leave it on regular heat. We're going to set it on a 50-minute time dry cycle and flip the switch. Cool. Seems to be spinning nice and smooth. No noises. We're going to make sure it's producing good heat and that the timer is cycling like it should. Make sure it shuts off when you open up the drum. Oh yeah, it's already producing some heat. Let's let it finish out this cycle. If it finishes it out with no problems, we'll get the top end reinstalled, get it wiped down, and that'll be another one complete. Checking in on the animals. My dad let them out earlier to free range. Gonna make sure these guys aren't causing any trouble either. Miss Emma, seem like you're up to no good. Grazing around. After the hard rains, the little creek here is roaring. We're gonna walk down to the main creek in the woods, see how much the levels rise over there. Here's where our creek flows into this main creek, and it is definitely filled up. It's got water in it all year long, but not this much. Damn. Little walk through the woods. This culvert was part of a bridge they built a long time ago, but it's got washed down over the years. Way down here. We were standing way past up there. You can see the water's really flowing good. This man is wild. Nightfall is arriving. Looks like there's another storm brewing up. While I was down here, went ahead and grabbed me and Irvin another bag of deer meat. We're running low up there. Right at 6 o'clock out here. What a sunset after the heavy storms today. We got this old dryer back up and running. It finished out its test cycle with no problem. So I got the top end reinstalled. Last thing to do is wipe it down a bit and we're gonna send it on its way. Brought this one here. It's missing a door handle. Also, the head unit's pretty flimsy. I'm not sure what's going on there. We're not gonna take a look at it tonight. I actually started tearing apart this Maytag washer that has a bad main seal It's leaking down there by the transmission. Removed the head unit, put it over there. Took the top ring off the drum, got the agitator out. Also went ahead and removed the hub. It's in good shape, so maybe we can reuse it. There go all the screws. Here's the main bolt to the agitator. So now we should be good to pull this drum out and start trying to get that transmission off. There we go. Set this drum to the side. Even if I don't get this thing repaired tonight, at least I'm a lot farther in this process than I would have been. Got a bird's eye view of the drum here. You got the transmission shaft here. Spins around like so. Then you got your main seal around here. And what's happening is after a couple loads, you start to see a puddle on the ground. It's getting the motor wet, transmission wet. Not a good sign, so we're gonna have to yank it out of here and see what we can do. I went through with the straight bar, broke the 4 main bolts loose. We're gonna get them out the rest of the way with the drill. Also disconnected all the wires that are connected to anything on the transmission. All this stuff here is on the main casing, so it's not gonna be a problem taking it off. The pump isn't in the way. I might need to charge this battery tomorrow. Got the job done for now. Hopefully this thing will come out easy. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Might have to beat it from the top. Got the machine lifted back upright. I hit it a couple times with the mallet. Seems to have got the job done. There you have it. Transmission is removed. Not much to it. Got the main seal here causing all the problems. We're gonna take a pause here for tonight. Start closing down the shop. It's about 7:30. Let's head up to the house, start working on some dinner. Another day in the shop. We'll be back out here tomorrow.